Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This presentation is for Atfal Nazmeen and for teachers of Atfal classes. And in the presentation, we will introduce the Atfal four-stage mechanism. The presentation itself is broken down into 9 topics, as you can see on the screen. So let's get going. The first question we have is that, what is the Talim syllabus for Atfal al-Ahmadiyya? Well, the answer to that is very simple. As per the instructions of our beloved Huzur, may Allah be his helper, the Atfal syllabus is the same as the Waqf syllabus. So that is the syllabus we should be teaching our Atfal. The second question we have is that, what is the four-stage mechanism? Well, the four-stage mechanism is simply a program, or it's a scheme designed to help local secretaries teach the Waqf syllabus, but we have to do that in a way that it achieves the following 3 objectives. And those are, first and foremost, it must cater for varying abilities. So the four-stage mechanism makes teaching the Waqf syllabus easy in a class format where there are loads of Atfal of varying abilities. Secondly, it is a way to track the Tifl's progress and keep record of how much they have learned and how much they have progressed over the year. Thirdly, not only track the Atfal's progress, it actually encourages local secretaries to reward those Atfal who have progressed the most. This will encourage healthy competition amongst Atfal and create a desire to progress. So now let's go on to the third question. The question is, what are the 4 stages of the 4-stage mechanism? Well, as we've discussed already, since the Waqf syllabus is the Atfal syllabus, the 4-stage mechanism simply uses the Waqf syllabus and divides its major elements into 4 stages. Within each stage, we have the same 7 segments repeating themselves. These include Holy Quran, Islamic teachings, Salat, history, ahadith and prayers, poems and literature, and some mini projects as well. And under each of these 7 segments, there is a checklist of things that the Atfal needs to do and learn. So now let's have a look at the checklist itself. So now we get on to question number 4, and that is, what are the resources you as a local teacher, as a local Nazim, that you need for running the 4-stage mechanism in your Qiyadat? So there are 2 main things that you will need. Firstly, the 4-stage mechanism booklet, which is the PDF file. This is mainly aimed for Atfal and parents, but it's crucial that you familiarize yourself with the booklet prior to setting the test. And this is, of course, available on the Atfal website as well. And the second resource that you will need is the 4-stage mechanism tracker. This is the Excel file. This is clearly meant for you to use as a mean to track the progress of each and every single individual. So now let's have a look at both these files. So here we have the 4-stage mechanism PDF booklet, which is available on the Atfal website for all Atfal and their parents. Having a look at this booklet, you can clearly see it is a well-made document, and it includes all the instructions not only for the Atfal and parents, but also for local Nazmeen, just to familiarize themselves with the whole process. If I scroll down to stage 1, you can see all those mini segments that I was discussing earlier on. So we have within stage 1 sections on Holy Quran, Salat, Ahadith and prayers, and so on. Within those sections, however, we also have tasks allocated to those. So for example, under Holy Quran, the first task is memorize Surah Al-Kawthar. And you can see that we have allocated 5 points to it. The point system is a customizable aspect of this 4-stage mechanism. The local Nazim can choose to go with the point system, allocate their own points, or ignore the point system based on how they think the file will benefit the best. You can also see that certain tasks have references allocated right next to them. So for example, for Salat, you can see that the reference is Waqf syllabus number 1, page number 32. So what you can do in this case is that scroll all the way back up. Over here we have put down the reference for the Waqf syllabus file, click on it, go onto the Waqf syllabus, go on to page number 32 and find the resource on Salat available to you over there. As you move on from stage 1 to stage 2, the tasks become more difficult, as you would expect. However, the same 7 segments repeat. The whole idea here is that moving from stage 1 to stage 2, the DIFL simply builds on their prior knowledge, and that is why it's crucial that everyone starts from stage 1. Also available at the end of the booklet, we have a few selections of prayers directly taken from the Waqf syllabus, as well as 40 ahadith and their translations, along with their transliterations, again taken from the Waqf syllabus. So this is the 4-stage mechanism booklet, and our idea here is that every single DIFL should have a copy of this on themselves. Now let's move on to the 4-stage mechanism tracker, which is aimed at local Nazmeen and local Talim class teachers. As you can see here at the bottom, we have the different stages. On the left-hand side, in the leftmost column, we have all the tasks directly taken from the PDF file that I was showing you earlier. And over here in the top row, with the name written over here, this is where we expect you to put the names of the Atfal. So the idea here is that before running the whole 4-stage mechanism, you populate the top row with the names of Atfal in your gathered. Once you have done that, we will move on to what the methodology is of running the 4-stage mechanism. Okay, so now we run through the preferred method of 4-stage mechanism, how you as a local Nazim or as a local teacher should run it in your gathered. The first thing you must do is hold a full class test. Now, the reason behind this is that for you as a local teacher to know what each and every individual needs to learn, you must first know where each and every individual stand with their knowledge. So you do a full class test, and then and only then will you know what the next steps for each and every individual should be. So let's run through a demo. You set the test date, you let the Atfal know of the test date, you let the Atfal know of what will be asked of them during the test. That is, of course, content from stage 1. And then when all Atfal are there for the exam, you simply put their names on the top row, as I've done over here with DIFL 1, 2, and 3. And you make your way through every single DIFL by asking them questions on the left-hand side. So for example, if I have DIFL 1 online, I will first ask them whether they know Surah Al-Kawthar. Now, for certain tasks and certain Atfal, it will be very obvious that the DIFL does know the task. So you can simply take their word for it. But however, if of course, you get a feeling that perhaps the DIFL is a bit reluctant, you should always clarify by asking them to recite the surah or recite, whatever is being asked of them. So for example, if the DIFL wasn't very sure whether they knew Surah Al-Kawthar, I will simply ask them to recite it or recite a portion of it until I'm satisfied that yes, the DIFL does know Surah Al-Kawthar. So let's say the DIFL does know Surah Al-Kawthar, so I will allocate 5 points and move on. The next task, I do the same. Surah An-Nasr, let's say the DIFL knows that too. Allocate full 5 marks and move on. Maybe for Surah Al-Asr, the DIFL does not know, so I will allocate 0 marks out of 5. And then Surah Al-Ikhlas, let's say the DIFL is a bit unsure and makes a few mistakes along the way, so I will allocate appropriate marks so that it reflects how much the DIFL knows Surah Al-Ikhlas. So for example, here let's say I allocate 2 out of 5 marks. Then I move on to the next section and I repeat the same process over again until I have gone through all the tasks on the left-hand side for DIFL 1. Once I've done that, I will have basically a report card for DIFL 1 ready, which I can share with their parents, which I can share with his parents, I should say. And I can set homework for the next test by simply reading off the tasks that the DIFL did not know or did not do well in. So for example, in this case, I can say that the DIFL needs to learn Surah Al-Asr by the next test. Once I've done that process for DIFL 1, I move on to the next DIFL and I repeat the same process again. One thing I should mention here is that the point system is not compulsory. In fact, we leave it up to the local Nazim to decide whether they want to follow the point system or not. So for example, instead of following the point system, you might just want to say yes for yes, they know the task, no for no, they don't know the task, or maybe for somewhere in the middle. And then you do the same for all the Atfal. Once you've done all the Atfal who are present in the test, you have a fully updated Excel tracker file, which you can share with the parents so that they know where all the Atfal stand. You can set specific homework for each and every individual tifl for the next test, and set the test date for the next exam. We suggest that the tests should happen every 5 weeks. So once you've done the first test, given 3 sets of homework to the Atfal, set the next test date within 5 weeks. You simply keep reminding them of the test date and the fact that they need to do their homework until the next test date arrives, and you repeat the same process over again. It is possible that some Atfal will know a lot of stage 1 already, or maybe even all the tasks on stage 1. For those Atfal, you simply remove their name from stage 1, add it to stage 2, and carry on. We also set a threshold of round about 80 to 90%. So if a tifl knows 80 to 90% of the tasks on each stage, then given that they all have done all the main tasks such as Salat, Hifz Quran, prayers and hadith for that certain stage, they should also get the opportunity to move on to the next stage. So just to recap, once you've done the initial test, you set 3 pieces of homework for each tifl. You remind them of doing that homework for the next test date. And so now that the 4 weeks have passed and it's the 5th week, it's the test date again, you run the tests, you update the tracker for each tifl, and you make a note of those Atfal who have been able to complete their target of learning at least 3 new things. And that is the main structure of how you should run the 4-stage mechanism in your local Qiyadat. The next topic of discussion is the importance of rewarding your Atfal in the process. So now that you have conducted the test and you have updated the tracker, you should be able to tell which Atfal fulfilled their target of learning at least 3 new things and those who did not. But now you must reward those Atfal, and there are a few ways you can do that. So first and foremost, you can acknowledge them, right? So those who have done their homework of learning at least 3 new things, acknowledge them in class, read out their names in front of the other Atfal so they can feel appreciated. Secondly, you must also encourage the weak. So those who have not been able to reach the target, perhaps you should have a one-to-one with them, call them privately, or speak to their parents and understand their concerns and challenges. That way you can really ensure that everyone has a fair opportunity at progressing. Another idea is to give out prizes. Talk to your regional Nazim about this, and those Atfal who have done met the challenge of learning 3 new things, you can simply give out prizes to them in a Jamaat event so that everyone can see the Atfal being appreciated. If there are a few too many Atfal who meet that category, then of course give out prioritize those Atfal who have learned the most. One very simple idea that you can definitely do is create a leaderboard. So once you have done the test, extract the data, put the Atfal in a leaderboard so that everyone can see what their position is relative to other Atfal, and hopefully this will encourage a sense of competition as well. So now the question is, what do you do in the 4 weeks that come in between one test and the next? So in those weeks, you should really just continue to hold regular weekly Atfal classes and run them however you think best. But remember that this is now a time when you can get really creative and run the classes how you would like to. The purpose of these classes is to keep the Atfal engaged, answer their questions, and build a connection between them and yourself so that they can trust you as a teacher. This will of course help later on when they have to come to the next test. So try to focus these classes in between on running discussions and covering tarbiyat issues and tabligh related issues. and of course reminding the Atfal of the next test that is coming up. However, if you prefer to have something pre-made so that you can just simply use that pre-made resource to run the class, then that option is also available. We have almost 100 pre-made Talim lesson plans available on the Atfal website, along with teacher notes for you to study before doing the class, as well as quizzes, both Kahoot and old Google Doc style quizzes as well, which the Atfal can enjoy. So let's have a look at that resource on the Atfal website and familiarize ourselves with it. So here I am on the Atfal website. I simply go onto departments, onto Talim, and that should take me to this web page with a lot of Talim related initiatives. Over here, the two fields we are concerned with are the Atfal class resources, which will contain those pre-made slides, quizzes, and teacher notes, and the four-stage mechanism web page, which will contain all the information you need on the four-stage mechanism. So let's go on to Atfal class resources. That should take us to this page, which has two tables for the two previous years, and all the content within those tables is usable in the classes you're going to run at a local level. So simply download one of these lesson plans, look through the teacher notes before delivering the lesson, and run the quiz after the lesson itself, just to recap everything that the Atfal have learned during that lesson. So it really shouldn't be anything daunting to run these classes within, in between the test dates. All the content is already there for you to utilize. Also, let's have a look at the four-stage mechanism web page. So the PDF of the booklet should be available here. The tracker that we were running through earlier should be available here. And of course, you or the Atfal or the parents can contact us directly using this button over here to leave us an email so that we can get in touch with them and answer any questions. The next thing I would like to discuss are a few useful tips regarding the four-stage mechanism. The success of this mechanism really relies on a few key ideas. First and foremost, the communication with Atfal. This is crucial. You need to build trust between yourself and each and every Tifl, because if that's not there, then it will be very difficult to get the Atfal engaged and get them actively taking part in the four-stage mechanism. Now, alongside communication with Atfal, you also need communication with the parents. So share the reports with the parents. Share the feedback with parents, not just Atfal, but with parents, and let them know what's happening. So that way the parents know that the Atfal is learning something and their time is not being wasted. Another thing that's very crucial is consistency. Do not miss any test days or delay them for no good reason. However, if a Tifl misses a test day, then follow up with them in a one-to-one yourself, because we don't want it to be that just because a Tifl misses one day, they have to wait another 5 weeks before they can update their tracker. That shouldn't be the case. So make sure that you're consistent with delivering these tests. Finally, don't just promise the rewards, but actually deliver them too. The Atfal will really be looking forward to some sort of encouragement or some sort of appreciation. So make sure you deliver those rewards as well. Finally, we have a few frequently asked questions by local Nazmis, so let's go through them quickly. So one question we get asked is, what if you have a class size that is simply too big for the test? To do the test in one day, I should say. Well, in that case, if you're holding the test in an on an online platform like Teams or Zoom, then you can use the breakout room facility, and you should split the Atfal into groups and run the test that way. If it's in person, then have different stations for Atfal to go to, the same way we have at the National Ijtima. Of course, this does mean that you will need more than one person as a judge or as a teacher, but you can get hold of those people by requesting your regional Nazim Atfal or your local Sadr. So it is a big day and you will require to plan it. So please have a look at all the possibilities and plan the day fully before actually conducting the test. Another question we get asked is whether the local Nazmeen or the local teachers can choose to, hold the test at different intervals than every 5 weeks. And of course you can do that, but from our side, we really want to make sure that the test happens at least every 5 weeks. So if you want to do it earlier, then feel free to do so. But if any later, then you must discuss it with the National Atfal team prior to doing so, because we really want to give the Atfal the opportunity to update the tracker as frequently as possible, and 5 weeks is what we think the appropriate time for that. Finally, we also get the question whether you as local Nazmeen, I should say, can add or change things in the checklist. And the answer to that again is yes, you can. However, there are a few important things that you must leave in there. So for example, things like Salat, Hifz al-Quran, Hifz al-Ahadith, Hifz al-Adiyah. These things must be left in there because they're very crucial. However, certain tasks such as, tasks from poems and literature section where the poem is in Urdu and the tifl does not know Urdu, of course you can miss those tasks and replace them perhaps with different tasks for those atfal. In fact, you can even add new tasks to the Excel tracker sheet that I was showing you earlier. So for example, if there's a specific task for your qiyadat, then you can add that to the tracker and make it compulsory. Or perhaps you're being chased up to sign up atfal for a national initiative, then you can add that to the tracker sheet again and make it compulsory for Atfal. That way, not only do you stay organized and know exactly which Atfal have signed up for the initiative, but you also encourage the Atfal by adding it to the 4-stage mechanism and making it a compulsory thing. That brings us to the end of the presentation. Of course, if you have any further questions or any feedback, then please do get in touch with us. And the email to go to is talim@atfal.co.uk. Jazakallah, and I hope you have enjoyed the presentation. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.